But the second question from Voice of Nigeria then will center around the work we do at the Ministry of Education. Uh, of the social ministries that there are, education is at the core of the social, because it deals with human development. So with nearly 20 something, 22,000, 22 million Nigerians in school at some point of school, the Ministry of Education covers a wide gamut. The bulk of these are the primary level, with 135,000 secondary primary schools in Nigeria and 28,000 secondary schools across the country. Nigeria is one of the largest and geospatially challenged educational entities around West Africa. So our work has centered around getting as many of them into the school system. Before we came, there were nearly 13 million Nigerians out of school. And before I joined the ministry, the Minister of Education, Malam Adamadam, had, with the president, held what was called a ministerial program, over which we distilled the ministerial action plan. In the wisdom of Mr. President, there was a need to invite and bring somebody to make those decisions run. So in the 33 months that I've been at the ministry, my job essentially had been to drive that engagement so that the ministerial action plan will be achieved. And I'm happy to report that in the ministerial assessment that has been done almost on all the scores, World Bank has said that we've done more than any previous government in bringing out of school children into school. We have increased by a large percentage the amount of money that UBEC gets to the states. This government has, through UBEC, made sure that schools and their intake have been expanded. So, while we still have the challenge, while that challenge still exists, because even if one child is out of school, it is still one child too many. We have made substantial progress. We have reduced this number by nearly 5 million in the course of 3 years. So we're proud that we are able to bring them on. Some of the achievements we made were challenged by COVID because having brought everybody into school, we found ourselves faced with a situation where we had to shut down the schools that we had brought in. And for nearly 8 months, while our children. So it's been our duty since then to re-engage parents and have them bring back children to school. The second arm of your question deals with the tertiary end of our engagement. In the school system, we have about 2.6 million Nigerian undergraduates in the nearly 200 universities across Nigeria. The federal government owns less than 50 of these universities. The state governments own nearly 50 of them as well. Whereas private individuals and private organizations, faith-based organizations, own another 100 plus. The only part where children are not in school at the moment are the ones that belong to the federal government. So there is no need for any other university to be at home. The engagement with ASU has been a long drawn one based on the 2009 agreement that was signed before we came into government. It is our duty as government to give life to those agreements, which ASU rightly seeks to make sure that the universities that the federal government owns are properly funded. Federal government's funding is very limited, and because of the additional challenges of security, they've had to repeatedly borrow money to finance government. This same borrowing is not available to build social infrastructure. It is only available to build infrastructure that government can get returns from, railways, all those kind of things. To borrow and pay people is not normally what one bank or other institutions borrow money for. However, federal government has continued to contain this and pay the salaries that are due. The costs of some of the items that are in issue include the